First thing that we do when we come into practice is simply stand. And in the standing posture, we can notice how we feel in this moment. And then we can use a couple of things, a couple of really simple techniques that'll help us to relax and settle. So the first one that I'm going to use, I'm going to look at invisible techniques first, then we'll come into the physical practice and see how they affect you. So the first invisible technique that I think is really, really useful is shift the weight around the bottom of the feet. So just the act of moving the weight around the bottom of the feet. What this does is it shifts the awareness as far out of here within the body as possible. It makes you go, oh, what's going on down there? How's that working? And it can really help to create that sort of grounding feeling, help us come back into ourselves instead of being stuck in our heads. It helps to relax the body. So as we shift the weight around the bottom of the feet, we can also notice the ankles are moving. We can notice that the knees are soft. We can notice how mobile the hips are. So we can work with the whole of the lower part of the body. We can also work with the upper body, but we'll use some different techniques for that. Okay, and then we can settle back into a comfortable standing posture. And here there's an idea that we need to watch where the breath runs. So within Qigong.Qigong, which is the system that we're using here, we tend to focus on the idea of breathing into Ming Men. Ming Men translates from Chinese as life gate, and it's the point between the kidneys on the small of the back, just in here. So if you can put the hands onto the small of the back without the shoulders tensing up, and it could be the back of the hands, it could be a single hand, it doesn't really matter, it's make contact with that part of the body. And as you breathe, notice that part of the body. It's possible that as you're breathing, you can actually feel movement in the small of the back. And even if you can't, it doesn't matter. Imagine that you're breathing down into that part of the body. And that part of the body is responding. Now, what you'll probably find is that the breath has changed. There's a different quality to the breath. You may also find that where the hands are on the back, or where the hand is on the back, has warmed up. So once you've got a little bit of warmth there, you can take the hands away and you can breathe into that warm point on the small of the back. And this softening of the breath really makes a difference. This breathing all the way down to Ming Men helps to quieten the mind, helps to quieten the body, relax the body. If we look at it in sort of pure scientific terms, you'll also be able to notice that doing that reduces the it reduces the pulse rate quite often. It slows everything down because the breath is slowing down. So breathing into Ming Men. And then the other technique that we spoke about last week was the idea of imagining the breath rising up the back and sinking down the front of the body. Rising up the back, sinking down the front. So it's like a slow motion sigh. The in-breath rises at the back. The out-breath sinks at the front. A couple more times. And then you can do a few more without the hand movement, just the idea. So the breath rising up the back, sinking down the front. Up the back, down the front. So the whole body relaxed. 3 really simple techniques: shifting the weight around the feet, breathing into Ming Men, and this cyclical breathing. And all 3 will help to bring you into a more relaxed state. And when we start the Qigong practice, the first thing that we do is relax. And in the relaxed state, we allow the mind to be quiet. We can then notice the space immediately around ourselves. And then expand the awareness out. So have a look at the screen. All of these people, all of us joined together in practice from all over the world, everybody connected, everybody supported, everybody supporting this chi field, this connection. Then we can shift the awareness out even further, out into the blue sky, out into the space around us, out into Hunyuanqi, and then gently draw the mind back inside with an idea of qi flowing well, everything relaxed, everything relaxed. Okay, so coming into some slightly more complex movement. Starting on one side, the thumb, push the right thumb forwards and then turn the right thumb back. So forwards and back, forwards and back. Allow the movement to flow and allow the movement to gradually get bigger. So the thumb turns a little bit further, keeping the hand low, and then when it turns the other way, keeps moving. And use the twisting of the body to cheat. Love cheating. Cheating is my friend here. So keep on turning the thumb, flowing from one turn to the next. The whole body getting involved. So the arms just move incredibly easily. Allows everything to flow. A couple more times, turning all the way around and all the way back. And then give the arm a little bit of a shake. And if you look at the screen, you'll probably see a whole load of people with one arm longer than the other. So sort that one out. Left hand. Push the thumb forwards and turn it back. So start with a small movement. Nice and slow. Forwards and back. Gradually increasing the size of the movement. Allowing the body to get involved so that we're turning the thumb as far back as we can And turning the thumb as far forward as we can. So turning from the hips and the spine, anywhere, in order to allow that hand to just keep flowing around a bit further. And then coming back to the center and giving the arm a bit of a shake. Giving both arms a little bit of a shake, softening the shoulders off. So it's a great way of releasing the shoulders. But if we want to start to work more into the body, let's do both thumbs at the same time. Thumbs turn forwards, and here we can imagine opening the whole of the front of the body. And then as the thumbs turn back, we can open the shoulder blades and open the back, bow the body down slightly. Thumbs turn forwards, open the front of the body. Turn back, open the back. It's worth staying with these smaller movements for a while. Easing into this space is a really powerful place to go because the movement is more subtle. So as the thumbs turn back and the shoulder blades open, we can notice the whole of the back releasing. And as the thumbs turn forwards and the front of the body lifts up and opens, again we can notice the whole of the front of the body opening and relaxing. So taking time in the smaller movements is really, really useful. And the more you do it, the more you'll find that space opens, the more you relax, the easier it gets. We can increase the movement as well, so we can go for a larger movement. So gradually increasing the size and starting to align this with the breath. So as the thumbs turn back, we breathe out. As the thumbs draw forwards, we breathe in. Turn back and breathe out. Bow the body down. Hands rising up, breathing in. Whole body starting to open, following the breath. Okay, if you're familiar with the movement, explore that piece that when the arms come up, drawing the thumbs away from the rest of the fingers and enabling that to help more breath to come in. If you can experience that, have a play. If not, just enjoy this ability to draw breath in as the arms open out. A few more times at this size. And then gradually increasing the size again, so now the hands rise up higher. We open the whole of the front of the body, and as the hands bow down, we open the whole of the back. So there are two central acupuncture channels, Renmai and Dumai. One runs all the way up the back, so as we bow the body down, the whole of the back channel, the whole of Dumai opens. And as the arms rise up and we open the front, the whole of Renmai, the whole of the front channel opens. And these two channels control all the rest of the channels in the body. So opening Renmai and Dumai helps to open all of the channels. Helps energy to flow throughout the entire body. From the tips of the fingers to the ends of the toes, qi flowing well. A few more times. Enjoying the movement that you have today. Enjoying where you currently are. Knowing that every day is different. And then the next time the hands get up to the top, allow them to pause at the top. And when the hands pause, allow the body to stay moving. But it's a gentle waving movement. It's like a reed in the river. So as the body moves forward slightly, the back opens. And as the hands move back, the front of the body opens, gently swaying. Whole of the body moving. Then connecting the fingers up into blue sky. Draw qi down. And as we draw qi down, we draw the awareness into the bones, into the top of the neck, down through the vertebra of the neck, down through the vertebra of the mid-spine, into the lumbar spine, all the way down to the tip of the tailbone, back up into the hips, down through the legs, through the knees, through the ankles, all the bones in the feet, and at the bottom, lift qi up. Draw qi down through all of the bones and the space between the vertebra in the neck, in the chest, in the abdomen, all the way down to the tip of the tailbone, back to the hips, down through the legs. Everything healthy. Lift qi up and draw qi down. And here, bringing focus also into the marrow. And the marrow includes the spinal column. It includes the brain. So an idea of the marrow is bright and healthy, all the way down through to the tip of the tailbone. And the marrow in the legs, bright and healthy. All the way down. Lift qi up. Draw qi down through the bones, through the marrow. Bright and healthy. Letting it flow down wherever you feel it needs. A couple more times. Lift qi up. And draw qi down. Qi flowing well. Continuing round another time. And then the next time the hands get to the top, allow them to pause at the top again, the whole of the body moving freely. Front and back opening alternately. The whole body moving. And here we're going to draw the feet together. And we're going to use a slightly different forward bend, a roll down. So we start from the top of the head and then into the top of the neck, and one vertebra at a time. We release them forwards. So it isn't a stretch, it's creating space through the spine. Relaxing the spine down, what is comfortable, keeping the legs straight. And then when you're as far as is comfortable with the legs straight, we can imagine the breath traveling up through the legs and out through the arms. So the body is moving in sort of a circle up into lower dantian, releasing up, out, up, out, far down, Allow this cycle of movement to travel through. A couple more times. So pressing down gently on the out breath. Then to make the movement a little bit stronger, the next time the hands press down, we can allow them to come behind the legs, massage the back of the legs, wherever they reach, give the legs a rub. If you can get the hands down behind the ankles, wonderful. If they only come down to the calves or the thighs, no problem. Then an idea, on the out breath, we draw the forehead towards the knees. So breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then release the hands forwards. Allow the tailbone to stick up in the air. And then allow the tailbone to sink down. As the tailbone sinks down, straighten the spine from the bottom up. Take your time, one vertebra at a time. Coming back in, rising up into the blue sky. All the way up, and at the top, body moving freely. And then very gently draw Qi down. So this time, noticing the space in the head, upper dantian. Notice the space in the chest, middle dantian. Notice the space in the abdomen, lower dantian. As if the fingers are connecting down through the legs into the earth, lift Qi up. Draw Qi down. Upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian. Down through the legs. Couple more times. Upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian. Last time, lift Qi up and draw Qi down to lower dantian. Just enjoy this feeling of drawing Qi down, a Qi shower, showering in blue sky and allowing it to settle into the abdomen, into lower dantian. So when we were breathing into Ming Men is the opening into lower dantian. So we're using kidney breathing or Ming Men breathing and using the hands to point back into this place. And we'll also here open the stance. So we can relax into a posture that just brings the awareness into lower dantian. Comfortably away from the body. Centered and quiet. And see how relaxed you feel. Before we come into the last bit of movement that we'll use, I just want to use a little bit of sound here as well. So there's the sound is a lot, I'm sorry to say it, it's a lot better than our word. Relax is really not a word when you compare it to sung. So we use the Chinese sung because so you can join in with me quietly or noisily, it doesn't really matter, or just listen. So breathing in, su, Sum is relaxed. One more time. The whole body, Qi flowing well. So in this posture, which is a standing meditation posture, it's very easy to find that level of relaxation. But I'd like to wake things up a little bit and see whether we can be a little bit more active and still be relaxed. So here, allow both the hands to fall to the sides. Allow both hands to open out into the blue sky and draw blue sky back into the dantian. Squat down slightly. So it's an idea, hands are spiraling out into blue sky, scooping Hunyuan Qi, scooping blue sky back into lower dantian. Very refreshing, very cleansing, drawing blue sky back inside. A couple more times. And it's the idea that guides the movement, spiraling out into blue sky, drawing blue sky back inside. This time, lifting blue sky up through the hands spiral out to the sides. They gather back in front of lower dantian, in front of the abdomen, and again, spiral up, out, and back. Up, out, and back. Up, out, and back. Couple more. Up, out, and back. Up. Idea, Qi rising up through the body, then expanding out into blue sky, drawing blue sky back inside. One more time, all the way around. Out and back. And then this time, Qi rising through the body, pauses at the top. And then we reverse the movement. So now we draw Qi down through the center of the body, all the way down. And at the bottom, the fingers push back and the hands spiral out and up and draw Qi down. And the idea is more important than the movement. And the idea, when Qi dantian, it spirals out and up. So we can draw Qi down again. One last time. Out and up. Draw Qi down. And pause at lower dantian. Come back inside. Take a moment. See how it feels. What's your state like? And then one last movement. Draw the feet together. Or draw the feet closer together. And then repeat the movement again. So the little fingers push back, the mind spirals out and up, and then draws Qi down through the entire body, through upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian. Out and up. Draw Qi down. Upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian. Once more. Qi spiraling out and up. Draw Qi down. Upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian. Again, pausing at lower dantian, checking in with yourself, seeing how that feels. And then to draw to a close, we'll raise the hands all the way up into the blue sky one last time, connecting up into blue sky. Feet connecting down into the earth, hands connecting up into the heavens, a single column of Qi. Then allow the hands to open out to the sides, all the way out into a line. Then the palms tend to face up and they move forwards. Mind expanding out. The middle fingers connect back into the center of the head. Upper dantian, Shenji Palace. And here we imagine clear and bright, full of blue sky, full of Hunyuan Qi. The elbows draw back close to the body. The middle fingers make contact with the sides of the chest, Da Bao, connecting into middle dantian and Hunyuan Palace. And here we notice all functions normal. Everything healthy. Qi is abundant. All of the energy of the organs balanced. Qi is abundant. And the fingers push back into the space behind, and then expand out to the sides, all the way out in blue sky, unwinding and expanding forwards. Then gently draw Qi back into lower dantian. Lower dantian, Qi is abundant, and the hands come to rest, one on top of the other, on the navel, on Du Qi. The mind resting in lower dantian. Very relaxed. Full of Qi, full of potential, but not having to do anything at all with it. Simply enjoying this perfect moment. Then release the hands to the sides. Ease back into the physical. Give yourself a little bit of movement. And let's come and have a chat and a catch up. See how that was for people. So let me just change my camera over. So lots of different techniques there that we can use for relaxation. Any work particularly well for people? Anything stand out?
Definitely the breathing at the beginning, because it just settles you down. It just completely relaxes you. I found that really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Just thinking about your feet and standing, that's something you could use wherever, couldn't you? Just to ground yourself somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just these simple things, and it's amazing how they the effect they have.
Yeah.
Effect. Just a matter of remembering.
Well, you say that, but I think that one of the tricks is to take one of the practices, take one of the ideas from today and take it into something that you do on an everyday basis. So take it into something that you may find isn't particularly relaxing, and try it. And if it works, then you probably won't have to try it that many more times before it becomes a habit. So yeah, I'm fascinated by this one. Over the years, I've done quite a lot of work in corporate, taking these ideas into corporate, and it's quite easy to create stressful situations for people in training rooms. I've got all kinds of devious techniques to make people feel uncomfortable, and so take that technique, make them feel uncomfortable, but then give them a breathing technique, give them like move the feet, relax the body, soften the shoulders is also another really powerful one, and try the thing that was difficult again and see what happens. And quite often you find that immediately has a significant effect, and then the person maybe has to try it 2 or 3 more times, and it's now a habit.
And the breathing up your back and down the front. I like that. Because normally it's just, you know, as a relaxation technique, breathe into your abdomen or wherever, the heart center. But I quite like that, the flow and the slight body movement, or the idea of moving the body side. So, nice.
Yeah, and if you consider also when we do the Tai Chi ball exercise, so let me just drop the camera down a little bit. When we're doing this movement, this in many ways is just an elaborate way of breathing up the back and down the front. All the techniques that we use tend to reinforce these simple techniques that are really transformative.
Yeah, I was watching a video, a podcast at the Davis Finney Foundation in America. It was about the benefits of exercise, so higher intensity exercise. So it was all about that study. But the scientist, the doctor who was discussing this, they asked her to give a bit of a demonstration because there was time left of exercises, simple exercises. So she said, well, just to relax you, to warm up a little bit. It was the arms, you know, like our blue sky with breathing. So
yeah,
it's nice to see things sort of reinforced somewhere else as well, or to recognise them. That you think, oh yeah, we do that, and it does, like you said, it facilitates the breathing, stretching the arms.
Yeah, it's always encouraging when you see similar movements or similar ideas being shared across multiple practices, because then you go, actually, that's the bit that's important. It doesn't matter what you call it. That's the bit that's important.
And I mean, we know these work, but I mean that, but it was giving it a bit of a scientific basis as well.
Yeah.
Perhaps it would get a wider audience, more recognition within the medical profession.
Who knows? I mean, I'm very fortunate because the College of Medicine are really supporting me at the moment. So in my morning sessions, I think I've currently got 3 or 4 GPs.
Wow.
And we're having these amazing conversations because actually a lot of what we're doing here is really common sense. It's really familiar. It's really obvious. And yes,
keeping your body flexible. I mean, it's like Pilates. The roll down in Pilates is very similar to what we've just been doing now. And it's just, you know, opening yourself up. I mean, it just gives you that flexibility. With Parkinson's, we'll get stiff. So actually, just being able to open yourself up like that makes such a difference. Yeah.
Actually, that'd be quite an interesting one to have a look at next week, because there's all kinds of little bits and pieces we can do in order to increase flexibility, and we can bring a bit of awareness into that for next week's session.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm interested in looking at anxiety, John.
Okay.
Because I've never been anxious throughout my life. For 75 years, I wasn't anxious. and I'm now quite anxious.
Okay.
So things like, I went traveling around the world until I was 72 and did 33 flights and never felt anxious remotely. Went with my daughter to Abu Dhabi last year, and I was very, very anxious about the flight. And it seems to be one of the conditions of Parkinson's.
For me, it's the worst. I've had to stop work. I couldn't work anymore.
Really?
It's been a huge, I can't explain it to the Department of Work and Pensions, because it's all about the physical health. It's not about your mental health. And my mental health has just taken a complete nosedive. I mean, I'm absolutely with you. Absolutely with you. It's the worst element for me.
Is this familiar for other people too?
Yeah, me, I suffered from panic attacks and things in my 20s. That's with situational anxiety, very, very different to the Parkinson's. This is totally different. But it's a lack of serotonin, and so not dopamine, but serotonin are one of the other neurotransmitters that causes it.
Yeah, precursor to the diagnosis, I actually had a relapse big time and couldn't leave the house for 3 months. You know, it's big thing in Parkinson's. But I've got it under control with homeopathy, so I'm feeling okay about it now. But it flares, and I wouldn't go on the motorway in the car anymore. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I used to be a very confident driver and confident traveller.
Yeah, driving was bad for me as well. Does anybody feel that this lockdown has helped their anxiety, to be honest? I'm just worried
really
when I have to go out and about again.
I've loved not going out, because all the external pressures don't exist. So for me, I feel a lot happier and more content because I'm trapped at home.
Yeah, I know. It's the worry is, you know, will we be able to go out again when we can?
If
you ever want to.
Make the effort to. Otherwise, the longer you stay in, the longer you want to stay in. It becomes.
I was enjoying staying at home, and it felt very comfortable. My diagnosis is fairly recent, so it gave me time to settle in with that. But just this past weekend, I actually went away with my family for a few days, and it felt great to be out. And I wasn't so focused on Parkinson's and what was going on, which felt really good. But as far as working, I haven't gone back to work yet because of the whole quarantine and all that. And I don't know if I would like to, but I don't know if I can, because there are good and bad days.
Well, I've got no short-term memory now. I can't remember instructions. I can't process information in the same way. I've always held down a job. I've always managed perfectly well, but I've literally, my brain, there's something in it, it's completely changed, and I can't do the things I used to be able to. I can't prioritize. I can't, it's been devastating for me, the mental side of it. The tremor and everything else I have under control with the drugs, but the mental side of it, tricky.
Right.
Yes.
The reason I enjoy this so much is because you focus on this being positive and being, and I think the way
really important.
Right. Not about Parkinson's, it's about being healthy.
Absolutely right.
I'd like to, I feel as if we're hovering around a really big subject, and I'd love to spend a chunk of time looking at it. But I think what I'd like to do at the moment, I'd like to share an idea with you that is one of the basic ideas within Qigong, and see whether, well, I'll describe it as a framework and see whether this framework makes sense or is useful. So I'm going to try to do this on a shared screen. So let's do that. So hopefully you've now got a white screen.
Yes.
So there's an idea that everything is, we can consider everything to be consisting of three things. And the first thing is Qigong. So the first thing I'm going to say things consist of is Qi. So then the question is, what is Qi? Yeah, we can give all kinds of complicated ideas on this one, but I always love the idea that if you look back at the etymology of the Chinese character for Qi, up to about 250 BC, it was simply 3 lines. And these 3 lines denoted vapor rising to form clouds. I'll do that again with another dramatic pause because it makes it sound mystical. Vapor rising to form clouds. To me, what that says is that Qi is an invisible force, the vapor, that creates change, the clouds. So any invisible force that creates change, we can consider to be Qi. This is why people talk about the wind being Qi, because you can't see it, but you can see the change it creates. Electricity flowing through cables is Qi, because you can't see it, but you can see the change it creates. It's a categorization for invisible forces that create change. But this has some interesting connotations, and one of them is that nobody ever feels Qi. What we actually feel is change. You don't see the vapor rising, but you do see the clouds. You only experience the electricity when you turn on the light or you grab hold of a live cable or whatever. What we experience is the change. We don't experience the Qi. So that's the first thing to say. So whatever we experience is just change. And that doesn't matter whether the change is going from being a less relaxed state to a more relaxed state, or any of the other changes that we're talking about here. All we're experiencing is change. And that change, we can keep on experiencing the same change. We can get stuck in cycles of change, or we can allow that change to move on and to change and evolve. So the experience that we have now is only the experience that we have now, is sort of the underlying thought that sits within it. So the second piece that I think is an interesting idea to explore is that Qi by itself does nothing. Okay, in order for Qi to do something, it needs the second component, which is information. Okay, so looking at the clock going, I'm never going to get this finished in 3 minutes. So let's go for it. Information is just information. Information is that life-changing book that you have never read. It's that astonishing documentary that will completely convert the way you're thinking that you've never seen. This is information. It's only when you read the book, it's only when you watch the documentary, it's only when you look at the study, it's only when you experience a thing that you actually make that information part of you. So we can actually say here, if I can find, there we go, one of them, that it's when you put your invisible force to the information that you make the information your own. Now, there's another implication here, and this sits for me around the idea of stress and anxiety. And I hold up my hand here as someone who's been written off work with work-related stress just over 10 years ago now. And one of the things that I found was that the information that I was holding on to, my expectations, the stories that I told myself about what was going on, they were absolutely crippling me because I was holding on to them really, really tightly. And what actually enabled me to move forward was recognizing that this is just stuff that I feel is important, but maybe it isn't as important. It's part of the way that I operate at the moment, but it can change. It's just information. So what Qigong has allowed me to do is recognize the information that I'm working with and separate that from me. So I can now give my Qi to the information that I want to give my Qi to. Okay, so then the third section of this, and as I say, this is a subject that you can see, we can keep going and we can dive into all kinds of details, but the third thing that's important here is space. Now, my daughter experiences anxiety, and there's been a number of times that, there's been countless times actually, that she's got into a state that she's saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. So in that situation, her information is, I can't do it. Her Qi is so closely linked into that, there's not space for anything else to happen. You know, the number of times, and I don't think I'm the only one that's guilty of this, that someone said, I can't do it, and you turn around and say, you can, and then you go, well, that didn't help at all, did it? It will never help, because what you're trying to do is change somebody's information. Things that have worked in my experience is distraction. It's being really British about it. Can I put the kettle on? It's tell a joke, do something that creates a little bit of space, do something that creates the opportunity for something different to happen. So the most important thing, if I can find a suitable, the most important thing in the practice of Qigong is space. We create space because when we create space, it means that we can then get perspective and we can recognize what it is that's going on for us. So rather than going into the origins of what's happened, what I'm interested in within the practice is how can we actually create space? And once we've created space, how can we use that space in order to recognize what's going on for us in any given moment? And recognize that it isn't permanent. You know, everything is changing, everything can change. So when I work with people around anxiety, this is one of the key pieces. How can I create that space? How can I take that moment to just step back and go, hang on a sec, is this a useful response?
Is that another way of saying getting out of our own way?
Basically, yeah. You know, quite a lot of the best advice is actually really, really common knowledge. It's just phrased in a way that we can't get to it.
One of the things about illness and work is that sometimes you can compensate the fact you're ill by working harder, and that's well recognized. So that's something to watch out for too. You have to create space and not try and perfect everything.
Yeah. This is. Oh, I so want to dive into this conversation, and I'm really aware of the time. There's a piece, when we start to unpack what is information within the process of Qigong, we talk about things such as our reference framework and the sort of ideas within us that we're protecting and the patterns that we're protecting and how to recognize those. And yeah, it's a fascinating piece because, as you say, you end up doing stuff to compensate for other things.
Yeah.
You get caught in these weird cycles that you don't recognize them until you've stepped back, until you've created a bit of space around them.
Yeah.
But some of them, you know, we work with some people who've been in cycles. There's one guy who I've been working with, I haven't seen him for about a month now, but he's been in the same cycle for over 50 years. And when you're working with him, you're sort of knowing that it's possible for him to break the cycle, but it's possible for him to do it. But it's so much entrenched in everything that he does that you can't just let it go. It's like at that point, that's just a complete reinvention of yourself. And that is a really tough call.
You always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like in mindfulness, your information and the thoughts, and thoughts aren't real. Thoughts, sort of think like clouds, aren't you? They just drift by.
Let them pass by.
The space, isn't it? Because they will go eventually if you give them space.
Yeah.
Don't latch onto them.
Well, on that note, is everyone okay to hang around for a couple more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. If people do need to go, please don't feel you need to stay. But I'd like to share the La Chi practice with you, which I'd like to do at the end, but I'd like to share it with a slightly different idea about creating space. And then we can draw the practice to a close with a glorious Hao-La. Hao-La is good already in Chinese. And then we can take it from there. So let's come into a little bit of La Chi. And I'm actually going to do this seated today. So... So you can do this seated or standing, it doesn't matter. What a fantastic noise. Thank you for whoever's just done that. Okay, so...
Too much information.
Yeah, creaking at the seams. So let's just take a moment to settle the breath. Breathe into the lower dantian. use one of the techniques that we did earlier on to relax the body and quieten the mind. So it could be moving the weight around the feet, it could be following the breath around the cycle of up the back and down the front. It could be simply breathing into lower dantian. And then a movement. And what the movement is drawing the hands back towards lower dantian. Coming back inside yourself. Inside all of your information, inside all of the stuff that you hold on to. We all hold on to stuff. And then when we expand out, we're not getting rid of anything, we're just creating space within. Enjoy creating space, hold that space just for a breath or two. And that space that we've just created, draw blue sky back inside. So expanding out, creating space. When you create space, you're able to see your information more clearly. And if the information at the moment is very relaxed, very easy, this is wonderful. If there's other stuff, notice it. And then draw blue sky back inside. So expanding out. And gathering back. Out. And back. In your own time, expanding out, creating space, and gathering back. A few more breaths in your own time. The idea is more important than the movement. The idea is more important than the breath. We're simply creating space and drawing blue sky back inside. So for the last couple of times, I'd ask you to stand with the hands either relaxed at the sides or softly held in front. And repeat the process just with the mind of imagining creating space and then filling it with blue sky. And then to draw to a close, reach the hands out in front and draw chi back. One hand on top of the other, on top of the abdomen. Coming back inside. Allowing yourself to be relaxed and settled in all this new space you've created. Relax the hands. And then we'll finish with a joyful howla. So raising the hands up and 1, 2. Howla.
Howla.
Oh, come on, we can do better than that. 1, 2.
Howla.
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 One more. Howla.
Howla.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, John.
See you next
Bye.
week.
Take care. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.